Today on Locked On, we're going to talk Ty Rodgers injuries. We're going to talk football injuries, offensive line. How worried am I? Let's bring out the worry wheel.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome all to another edition of Locked On Illini. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is right around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. My name is Sonny Verma, your host here at Locked On, where I continue to provide you coverage daily. That's right, every single day. Some days, more than once, like I did on Tuesday. All I ask for in return is, if you don't mind, if you hit the like button on this particular video, all that does is it helps share the show to other potential Illini fans who also might be interested in this content. For today, I wanted to do something kind of a little bit more fun. I asked for mailbag questions last week, and while I got a bunch of them, I wanted to try something a little different concept. I talked about this on yesterday's episode. I like to get feedback from you guys, and a lot of the questions I get was, how worried are you about ... How worried are you about ... And so I'm not going to say this is an original idea. I actually saw, I believe it was CHGO, do a very similar episode, at least concept, called the worry wheel. And essentially, I'm going to bring up a topic that somebody has brought up to me. And I'll rate it from 1 to 5. 1, not really worried. 5, extremely worried. And so, again, it's a new idea. If you can come up with a different name than worry wheel, please let me know. But we're going to start off, and we're going to give it a shot. The first couple ones, I have to address the Ty Rodgers situation, because when I let out the, hey, what kind of mailbag questions do you guys have? Everybody wants to know about Ty Rodgers. And so I don't have a definitive answer on what his injury is. Nobody does. Brad Underwood and that coaching staff really run a tight ship nowadays. Trust me, I've asked. I know how much you guys want to know the answer to that question. So that's why, because I don't want to sit here and saying I don't know, I'm changing the angle around a little bit and going to tell you how worried I am. And in Ty Rodgers' case, in trying to project on whether he's going to play this season, I would say my concern level is at a 5. And I know this is a heck of a way to start off the show, but quite honestly, everything I've heard, the vibes I'm getting is, if I'm thinking about the best case scenario, I feel like he's not going to be playing until at the very least 2026. And that's best case scenario. Even if you take pictures that, the players are posting on their Instagrams or their social media, the Illini basketball team is posting from their account, you see Ty Rodgers with a brace. And again, nothing's been made official about this injury, so this is a complete guess. So if it turns out he's ready to play by opening day, don't come around and say my sources were wrong. No, this is me just guessing. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's a big chance that Ty's going to miss this season, and hopefully he's going to be able to use a medical redshirt. Normally in years past, this would be a perfect case, but now with the NCAA possibly doing the 4 and 5 rule, if they don't grandfather Ty Rodgers in, Ty might have a situation on his hands. So I hate to start it off this way, but I'm not very optimistic at all about Ty Rodgers and his injury. And so he gets a number 5 on my worry wheel. Next up, we have Andrej Stojakovic and his injury. People were asking about when I did that breaking news, rapid reaction episode last week. Andrej, 1. If you know anything about a knee strain, you talk about, a worst case scenario. I mean, if that's what it is, right? And understand that's the context I have. And so that's what I'm basing this answer on. A strain's going to keep you out, a max a month and a half, 6 weeks, maybe. And while it's unfortunate that he's not going to be able to have the practice time with his teammates on the court, especially with Mihailo Petrovic, I talked about it on that particular episode. It's unfortunate that Mihailo was gone all summer long. And now that he's officially on campus, well, now Andrej is going to be missing some time on the court. But I don't think it's going to be all that much time. And I really don't think there's any concern about him missing any time at all for the regular season. Next up, I had a question directed to my email. By the way, just send me an email at talkillini@gmail.com if you want to submit a question or a topic for a future episode. And the next question I got emailed to me, which came up a lot, was Brad Underwood's roster building. There's a lot of Illini fans out there who are maybe understandably nervous that the caliber of recruits that Illinois has been getting in the 2026 class isn't exactly up to par with maybe the recruiting rankings of previous classes. Especially last year where we got two of the best recruits we've ever gotten in Kasperis Yakushonis and Will Riley. And I guess some of you are concerned about what this is going to look like for Illinois' basketball roster moving forward. Especially, it is kind of concerning, I'm not going to lie, that, our neighbors to the east, Purdue seems to be racking in, I believe they're ranked number one in the entire country with their recruiting class coming in next year. And, Matt Painter seems to have kind of flipped a switch. Usually he always recruited traits that he liked, and he's arguably the best in the country in coaching them up. Now he's actually getting legit 4 or 5 star type of players. So of course that is of concern, but what is not of concern for me is Brad Underwood's ability to put together a roster. And so for this, honestly, I'm going to put a 2. I get your concern. So I'm not going to put a 1 saying minimally concerned. I do think that Illinois is still in the hunt with a lot of the 4 stars, and there's even a 5-star in next year's class. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, please feel free to go back and watch some of my previous videos. I've kind of scouted those players in particular. The thing about Brad is that he's almost perfect for this chaotic Illini fan base. When it comes to the ups and downs that this fan base feels, well, Brad Underwood, again, is the perfect conductor in the sense where it seems like the last couple of years when May rolled around, a lot of Illini fans were saying, oh my gosh, have we bottomed out? We just came off of a successful season, but look at our roster now. We've got to replace 6 guys, 10 guys on this roster. We have so minimal time. We just have summer. What's going on with the recruiting class, et cetera, et cetera. And then Brad just gets to work. It was 2 years ago that it wasn't until maybe late May that I'd even heard of a kid named Kasperis Yakushonis. And yet he ended up being our top prospect last year until a guy named Will Riley joined the fold a month and a half, I believe, later because of the hiring of Orlando Antigua. And if you really think about it, last year's team is arguably, when you talk about the pure talent on the court and ceiling, was arguably better than the year prior, a team that went to the Elite Eight. This year, we were dealing with the same thing. We were figuring, okay, we got to replace 6, 7 guys. Trey White's gone. We have, Morez Johnson, of course, his completely unexpected exit. And yet, Brad just got to work. He brought in Keaton Wagler, who looks like a prospect who was underranked. He looks like he's going to play a very pivotal role. But then he went out and got, Mihail Petrovic, David Mirkovich, Andrej Stojakovic, all these guys he got, and basically just filled his roster on. Would you rather have a 4-star ranked in the 60s freshman on this basketball team, or would you rather have Andrej Stojakovic, a guy put up almost 18 points per game last year in the ACC, a junior? I'm telling you, 9 out of 10 times, I'm going to go with the veteran, the junior. And I think especially if your intentions and aspirations are to win the Big Ten Conference and make a run in March, I think the veteran route makes a lot more sense. We tried the freshman route last year, and as good as Kasperis was, and I know a lot of the Illini fan base has forgotten that, and as good as Will Riley was at the end of last year, counting on 2 freshmen as being your best players, you set yourself up for an up and down roller coaster ride. I really like the idea of considerably raising our floor with guys like Mihail Petrovic, who's 22, Tomislav Ivisic, who's 22, Andrej Stojakovic, who's going to be a junior, Colin Boswell, who's going to be a senior this year. Brad doesn't have a set strategy when it comes to how he builds his basketball teams, but he always has a plan that ultimately comes to place. And right now, until we go into a season that he doesn't, I'm going to continue to believe that by the time it's the first tip-off of the first game, Brad Underwood is going to put together a very good roster. Now, whether that has to do with top prospects, some of the top high schoolers or freshmen, or whether it has to do with European players, or whether it has to do with domestic transfer players, I don't know the answer to that, but I do think that Brad Underwood will always put a good team out there on the floor. You know what? We're running a little long on this one, so I'll just go ahead and talk about the football worry wheel in the next segment. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who's Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. You know what? I think I'm going to cheat on this particular ad read because I did Luke Altmaier previously, but if we're talking about this week, the guy who's made the most impact on this team is going to be Larry Geese. And that announcement that I broke news yesterday, donating $100 million to Illinois athletics, I think that's kind of the embodiment of what this is all about. And so I want to give Larry credit for that performance that he made. Him and Josh Whitman deciding to work together, and basically the sky's the limit now when it comes to Illini sports. So I want to give Larry and his family the spotlight here on this ad. And just like Larry Geese delivered for the Illini, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday, keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through 11/18. All right, let's switch on over to the football side. And on the football side in particular, a lot of the Talk Illini Discord submitted some topics here. So again, if you want to be involved with that community, we got over 300 Illini fans all across the country. The link should be in the description. We have a really good time, in particular on game days, where you get just real live, as it happens, feedback from a lot of Illini fans. We're all watching the game together. So first question was, how worried are you about the secondary just getting beat several times in the two games? Quite honestly, I don't think they necessarily were. I know the stats don't necessarily look all that good in the second game. I think against Western Illinois, it was just one particular player who had just, unfortunately, a really bad game. And a lot of it, if you take a look at the All-22s, which I was able to watch for Western Illinois, not so much for Duke, you're talking about just bad timing on a jump. And of course, I'm talking about Caleb Patterson. I think overall, the secondary actually did pretty solid. And I'm not too worried about what I saw against Western Illinois. And quite honestly, even against Duke, I know the numbers say one thing, and Mensa passed for like 330 yards and Duke overall passed for like 350 yards or whatnot. But I'm telling you, the game plan against Duke was, we know this guy is a star quarterback, and we know the star quarterback is going to make plays. Just let him make plays in front of us. Let's not let any of their players get behind us. If they're going to make plays to win the game, let's make them make multiple plays, if that makes sense. And so I know there's a couple plays, of course, where, defensive backs eventually got beat on. But sometimes it's just when you have a quarterback that's talented, and you have Duke's wide receivers who are honestly pretty good. I would say not even above average. I would say good. I'd classify them as good. That's just going to be bound to happen. So quite honestly, I'm not too worried about the secondary, at least from the tape that I watched. Certainly in the Western Illinois game, it was just kind of one player who struggled, let's just be honest. And against Duke, I talked about it in the Talk Illini Discord a lot. Like, I felt like we got a lot of coverage sacks, whether that meant, Mensa having to throw it away, or Mensa running and only getting like 2 or 3 yards rushing just because he couldn't find someone downfield. The defensive backs, quite honestly, I'm not too worried about. Where I might have concern this year is the next topic, and that's the offensive line. The offensive line at this point, I'm going to put a 4. If history tells us anything, Illinois is going to be able to figure it out in the second half of their schedule, and we know the second half of their schedule gets considerably easier, but that means I'm saying the first half of the schedule is not easy. And with our schedule being front-loaded like that, Illinois' offensive line has got to figure it out. I am concerned in the sense where it's just not happening. I don't understand. This is a third straight season. It's not a 5 for me because the talent is there. Those 5 guys, there's a lot of experience. There's a lot of accolades. There's a lot of just veteran guys on those front five offensive linemen. Why they haven't performed, I don't know. Is it scheme? Is it something Bart Miller's going to have to figure out? Is this another issue that Brett Bielema once again has got to tackle in the offseason? I don't know. For me, my concern is 4, only because they need to figure it out ASAP, because the games are about to get a lot tougher. Indiana's going to be really tough. USC, you're going to have to score 30-plus points to win. Maybe 40-plus points to beat USC. And then we have that Ohio State game. If your offensive line isn't fixed by then, you can go ahead, and it doesn't matter how good your defense plays. It doesn't matter how good Luke Altmaier plays or which wide receiver breaks out. You're not going to win those games, because those defensive lines that you're going to go up against, you're putting yourself in too big of a hole. So for me, I'm going to put 4 as my concern for that offensive line. It would be lower if we're just talking about big picture. I think the talent is there. I think it's just a matter of time of them turning it around. But it's 4 because we've got some really tough games to figure out. And, there's a lot of pressure on Bart Miller and that coaching staff to, figure it out, because we're going to need that offensive line to step up a couple notches. Arguably the worst performing group so far this season. Next topic was, how worried are you about our wide receiver corps when we start competing against better secondaries? Less worried than I was at the beginning of the year. The Western Illinois tape was pretty bad in the sense where you didn't see much separation between our guys. And of course, this doesn't include Hank Beatty, right? Hank Beatty is excluded from all this concern or worry talk, because we know he looks like he's legitimate and he looks like he can be a star. But other Big Ten teams who've got good athletes and who've got good defensive players, they're going to hone in on Hank Beatty. If he continues to be our only weapon, they're going to take that weapon away. Honestly, from the Duke game, if anything, Luke Altmaier missed a couple throws. That separation that we were worried about in that Western Illinois game, it was actually fine against Duke. I'm not too worried. I think the level of concern comes more that we don't have a second guy who's going off for 70 or 80 yards. Like we had last year. Like we knew we could count on Zakari and Pat, each getting 75 yards and maybe a touchdown each. This year, it looks like it's going to be Hank Beatty, and then it could be Colin Dixon. It could be Justin Bowick. It could be Alex Capco-Jones. Like, we don't know who that second guy is, and hopefully Illinois is able to figure it out. But if we're just talking about pure film-wise, now, granted, I am very honest with you guys. I was not able to watch the all-22 of the Duke game. I simply just rewatched the game as it was telecast. So maybe I'm wrong on that, but from rewatching the game and not being worried about the final score and whatnot, just being able to watch it from an analysis point of view, I wasn't too worried about the way the wide receivers played. I think you got decent separation. Sometimes I think Luke made the wrong choice or held the ball on too long when they were wide open, not wide open, but enough open wide receivers. It's really not a concern of mine. So I'm going to put a 2 on the wide receiver. No, I'll put a 3 just because I do think it's important that someone needs to step up from that room eventually. I'm not too worried because I see so much talent there that I think I'm confident someone will. So maybe a 3 is a cheating answer when it comes to 1 through 5, but for now, I'm going to go with. Next one was, how worried are you about losing 2 of our top 3 running backs for multiple games due to injury? Obviously, he's referring to Aiden Lawfrey already being hurt. We don't know if he's going to be coming back for the Western Michigan game. And again, if I'm coach, don't let him sit, let him rest. This very question is kind of a reason why. I really like Caden Fagan. I don't really like Caden Fagan. I really like what Khalil Valentine is doing and performing for this football team. He's not the blocker he needs to be yet to be playing every down, but on this team, no running back needs to play every down. I have my concerns about Caden Fagan, and surely those concerns seem to be growing by the week. He's just not doing the things that I think he should be doing. And, again, maybe I've set my expectations too high, but I still think Caden Fagan's a very good running back, and he's the ultimate weapon in the fourth quarter. When you're wearing a team down, you saw it against Duke. When you have a guy of Caden's size, it's really wears down a defense to have to expend 3 quarters worth of energies, running around chasing Khalil Valentine and these Illini wide receivers. And then in the fourth quarter, if they're losing, they know that Brett Bielema is just going to hand the ball to Caden. That's tough. But How worried am I if, let's just say, Caden or Aiden go down? I think the worry is definitely there, just because we haven't seen anyone else really jump up and look like they can be a guy who can be in a rotation. We have some young players back there, but on one hand, it's a compliment in the sense where I think Aiden Lawfrey, Caden Fagan, and Khalil Valentine can all rotate and be number one guys. But the downside to that is, if I'm being honest with you, if two of those guys are out, who's going to balance the other one? I don't know. So, based just on your question, how worried would I be? I guess this is more of a hypothetical answer. The answer would be, it would be a 5. And I'm kind of surprised I say that, but the reason I say 5 is because of what I addressed previously with the offensive line. If we have a struggling offensive line and nobody else to step up in the running back room, well, then all of a sudden we're going to count on Luke Altmaier in his first year at Illinois, where we remember in the first half of that season, he was arguably our best running back, and none of us want that. We need to keep Luke upright and healthy. And finally, Jaheim Clark. That's the other question everybody wants to know, and I kind of understand why. I kind of addressed this on a previous episode this week. Normally, I want to say 1 because it seems like Brett Bielema's not making too big of a deal about this injury. But I'm going to say 2 only because he seems to be saying the same thing every single week, and yet Jaheim is out every single week. Last week, we heard that he probably won't play Duke, but he should be ready for Western Michigan. Now it seems less optimistic, and it's like maybe he's ready for Western Michigan, but he should be ready for Indiana. Now, if he ultimately misses this game against Western Michigan, but is ready for Indiana, fine. That's when we are going to actually absolutely need him. But if we have the same runaround, I can't help it now. We're in week 3 already of this college football season. And the fact that we don't really get any concrete updates, not that the coaching staff would owe it to us or give it to us anyway, I guess selfishly, I'm a little bit more concerned than I would have been 2 weeks ago. At least that's my opinion. As I went through this episode, let me know which 1 through 5, how you would rate how worried you were on these particular, both in the basketball in the first segment and football this one. I'm very curious to hear what you guys have to say. Let me know in the comment section. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else. As of August 2025, you can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Look, I'm in a different mood every single time. Sometimes I want to bet the over-under of the game. Sometimes I want to bet a team over or under, maybe a player prop. Whatever I want to bet, whatever I'm feeling, FanDuel offers. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to both Saturdays and Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. In news that wants me to pull my hair out, former Illini student Larry Ellison apparently became the richest person in the world, passing Elon Musk. If I didn't hear about the Larry Geese information yesterday and the announcement of his donation, this probably would have driven me even more crazy. But again, this is why I do appreciate that the Geese family is making such an investment in the football team and the athletic team of the university. And again, I was supposed to talk about it today, but our segments ran a little long. I'll dip my toes into it on Friday's episode, just talking about how I listened to the Josh Whitman interview, and it really does look like a majority of this donation is going towards football and what that could possibly mean. I also wanted to kind of address the story about the AP writer. The news is making rounds now. I guess once the AP rankings came out, now immediately afterwards, you can see who voted where. and I won't say her name because I don't want to embarrass her, but there's a lot of people going after this AP writer who I should give a little bit more context. She moved Florida up 2 spots, despite the loss that they had to USF just on Saturday. And it's become clear that she just doesn't watch these college football games. And that's kind of where I wanted to go with this before I close out the show. This doesn't have to be offensive in any sort of way. I know there's a lot of a certain angle that people are taking in regards to this news story. Truth be told, the AP system is broken. If you think about it logically, this particular person, she's a beat writer. If you are a beat writer for a certain college football team, you are devoting 4, maybe 5 hours of your time on that Saturday watching just that team. I'm talking about pregame and postgame. And if you have zero family life, then maybe you can spend time watching some of the other 25 top 25 teams in the country. But if you do have a family, then you're going to have to make certain choices. And I don't think there's many out there who can honestly say that they're watching every single game of every single team in the top 30, 35 teams in order to rank them from 1 to 25. So I understand that she's getting some heat and she deserves it. Don't get me wrong. You have to at least be able or be willing to do the base level of research when it comes to this sort of thing. But ultimately, I'm actually hoping that this kind of highlights and puts the spotlight on just how silly this whole system is. I can believe we have an AD who's also doing the same sort of thing. Again, it just doesn't make sense, and the system itself needs to change. And how to change it, maybe that's a topic for another day. But I did have a couple thoughts on the topic, so I wanted to get those out before I let you guys go. It's another big moment on Locked On. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversations alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. By the way, we are about a month away from that Ohio State game. I will be attending that Ohio State game. If you're going to be there, let me know in the comment section. I'm going to assemble some sort of get together, maybe on Friday night or maybe pregame or postgame. I'm not sure yet. And also, by the way, if you have access to a tailgate and you want to invite me and maybe some of the other listeners, please let me know. We can, of course, help in any sort of way that you need. But yeah, I'm really excited about that game. I didn't go to a game all last year because I was no longer local. But I can't wait to make it to Ohio State. And who knows, I plan on making it to at least 1 or 2 more games at some point this season. That's going to wrap it up for today. Until next time, ILL. Love you guys.